Michael Bisping and Paul Felder discuss Israel Adesanya squashing his beefs with former rivals, which they think means that the former middleweight champion is certainly at the very end of his fighting career now, and he knows it. Maintaining a level of hostility towards other people in the same division is a normal occurrence in combat sports. After all, everybody in the weight class is competing for the same thing, the title. So, getting friendly with potential opponents hasn't been the most pleasant idea for most fighters. But as ambition and drive begins to fade away, whether it's related to aging or something else that causes one to realize they can no longer reach or maintain the top position, dynamics begin to change. That's one of the reasons many former fighters who used to be rivals later developed friendly relationships. Michael Bisping and Paul Felder think that the reason we've been seeing clips of cordial exchanges from Adesanya with his formerly bitter rivals is that he now knows that his career is at the very end.
Izzy was there. I was walking off to the bathroom with Drickus. Sounds weird. We're going for a pee. And Izzy runs up from behind him. And I don't know if you'd seen that or not. He didn't care. It was great to see that as well, because they had a really honest, fun, laughing, joking interaction. But hey, listen, you just beat the guys. You're allowed to talk a bit of shit. That's just, It comes with the territory. Simple as that.
Seeing Izzy kind of make amends with all of his former opponents makes them realize that maybe that is the fire kind of going, and that the hunger isn't there as much anymore. And I thought that was kind of an interesting point when you start to see that kind of feels like you're nearing the end when you do that, right? That these guys that you were bitter rivals with, you kind of start joking. I mean, look, you're shooting the shit with GSP. You were on a podcast with Luke Rockhold. When you were in the heart of that shit, Michael.
No way.
You're no way were you doing that. No way.
No way.
But after the fact, when you know it's all over and you can kind of look back and it's all said and done, you realize you were all in that trying to do the same thing at the same time, and that,
Daniel Cormier and Chael Sonnen defend Sean Strickland from fans' criticism following his loss to Dricus du Plessis and the aftermath. The contrast between what he promises he's going to do in a fight and what actually takes place when he's in the octagon is pretty significant, and many fans began to notice this aspect of Strickland and his antics in his second loss to du Plessis, which was also his last outing. He fought similar to his first fight with the South African, and despite clearly being down on the scorecards, there was no sense of urgency and increase in aggressiveness. All we saw was the same rhythm from him, which du Plessis was very comfortable with, even before breaking Strickland's nose. Following the fight, Sean also announced that he will no longer have his coach, Eric Nixick, in his corner. This was in response to Nixick's public criticism of Sean in a recent interview. All of this also didn't help with Strickland's popularity. DC and Chael discussed the position that Strickland has found himself in, saying they don't think he deserves this amount of criticism.
People are kind of piling on this guy right now.
Yeah, why? Did he do bad? I was proud of his effort.
It's kind of crazy how much people are piling on when, sure, he lost. Sometimes you get beat. You know what's crazy? That I get it, that he can be like, I'm this, I'm gonna do this, I'm this. Dude, sometimes it just doesn't fucking work. Your intention is to go out there and die, right? And some guy kicks your butt to the point that you're like, fuck, man, I might actually have to die fighting this dude. And you're like, I don't want to do that. Sometimes, right? Like, you have the right to pivot and turn.
Sure. Having your nose broke, it hurts really bad. Like, breaking a finger and breaking your nose, two small things, but I will just tell you, like, the pain is really immense, and to watch Sean reset it and stay in that fight, the math was already against him when his nose broke. He was not going to win that fight. He did not have the power. He wasn't going to find the guy. The math was against him, so he can stay out there for another 12 minutes taking an ass whipping because it was honorable, or he could quit. He chose to stay in there and take an ass whipping.
Yeah, he did.
So where these people keep saying that Sean didn't put out an effort, Daniel, it's not what I saw. It was a fair adjudication.
Dana White breaks silence on the Khamzat Chimaev situation, acknowledging that the Chechen is going through some personal problems right now. Khamzat's inability to travel to the United States has been known for a long time now, and it's no secret the reason for this was the fact that any person with close ties to somebody like a dictator of Chechnya, Ramzan Kadyrov, wasn't going to be allowed to enter the country. But with the current administration, that might very well change. When directly asked about this on the last press conference, Dana said that he's confident he can solve that problem, hinting at his close relationship with Donald Trump. So according to him, it was only a matter of time till we could see Chimaev fight in Vegas or somebody else in the States. As for Khamzat's ties with the Chechen dictator, Dana has feigned ignorance every time he's been asked about it. But now, things might have changed. In his latest interview, the boss said Chimaev is going through some personal problems at the moment, and him not competing in the US isn't a matter of his inability to enter the country. Recently, Khamzat revealed he was granted citizenship in UAE, showing his passport on social media. Speculation of him trying to avoid going back to Chechnya, possibly over a change in dynamics of the Kadyrov relationship, was already a thing in the Russian media space, but this gave it a renewed momentum. Becoming a citizen of another country didn't play well back in Russia. They took him off Russian MMA rankings, and general attitude towards him has changed from the Russian side. Getting called Kadyrov's son's lapdog who fled Russia, or a stateless person, the middleweight prospect isn't very popular back home, and a permanent residency in UAE is certainly a possibility. Whether there is something more to come with the Kadyrov situation is another question. Here's how Dana acknowledged Chimaev's troubles.
That's on him, though. He's got stuff going on in his personal life. That's not because, we're not getting him a fight. Obviously, you know how it goes here. I talk about this all the time. We have to get guys 3 fights a year. So if we don't get guys 3 fights a year, we have to pay them.
But
the only way that wouldn't happen is if they have personal stuff going on.
Can he fight on U.S. soil right now?
Sure.
Okay, so there's no issues there in terms of hurdles.
No.
Big John McCarthy and Josh Thompson react to Jared Cannonier versus Gregory Rodriguez. The result of this middleweight clash was easily predictable, considering both of their fighting styles. Robocop saw some early success, putting Cannonier on his back foot and going to work, before gassing out. At 40 years of age, Jared was able to snap his losing streak and get a win over an opponent who was beginning to be looked at as a potential future title challenger, even though his wins included nobody close to being elite. Some of his wins include knockout finishes over opponents in a completely fatigued state, when power was the equalizer, and one shot set up a complete reversal of roles in the sequence. This time, he wasn't able to save himself with his power from Jared, who also has significant amounts of it in both hands. John and Josh talk about Robocop hurting Cannonier and going for the finish, only to get exhausted and get finished.
Gregory Rodriguez came out. He came out guns a-blazing.
Yeah.
He was throwing heavy shots, and there's nothing wrong with that. He was going for the win. Loved everything that I saw out of him, but that can exhaust you. And he hurt Cannonier because he hits hard, and he hit him with some good shots. Cannonier was able to survive those due to his experience, but all of that energy output in the first round, you could see, and they were kind of saying, he shouldn't be tired. You're going to be tired when you're throwing that hard with that much velocity and putting out that kind of energy that he was stepping on the gas. And you look and you go, that's a guy that really hasn't been 5 rounds. And so it's a tough one, but I look at it, it's a learning experience for Gregory Rodriguez. It's a nice, stop point, because Jared has had a couple of fights that were not going his way.
Yeah.
He's back on track with it. He looked good. And I really, when I say he made it through that first round, he survived that first round.